What's up, everybody? James Rule, XRP, 6:20 p.m. on. Mark this date down. March the 19th, 2025. The Ripple XRP lawsuit is over. The SEC lawsuit against Ripple is over. The SEC backed out. They pulled their appeal. Ripple did not pull their appeal. They're still going to fight for that $125 million. But we're going to look at that. We're going to look at comments from Brad Garlinghouse. We're going to look at comments from the community. I'm sorry, I'm tongue twisted. I'm just so excited. You know, I was at work today and my phone, I had so many people contacting me that my battery died on my phone and I had to charge it on the way home. And yes, the case is closed, people. My name is James Rule XRP. Follow me on X at RuleXRP. Let's look at the price of XRP and look at what happened. This morning, it was about $2.30. When Brad Garlinghouse announced that the case was over, it shot up to about $2.58. We're currently at $2.54. Congratulations, everybody. This is just the beginning. What happens when these XRP ETFs hit? What happens when Ripple, the company, goes public and IPOs? What is going to happen here in the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month, the next 2 months? What is the value of your portfolio going to be in XRP? Oh, I think it's going to be incredible, people. So yesterday I posted that the Ripple lawsuit will end on, and if we go down here, a good note, soon, 3/20, April the 2nd, December the 24th, 2041, January 12th, 2030, 589 years later, the day after I sell it all, year 5,000, 320. So, you know, it's incredible. It happened today, and I'm going to click on this link. This is Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO at Ripple. I'm going to play this 4-minute clip for you. This was announced this morning at 8:05 a.m. on March the 19th, 2025. Check it out. This is it. The moment we've been waiting for. The SEC will drop its appeal. A resounding victory for Ripple, for crypto, every way you think about it. The future is bright. Let's build. And it says this mention got dropped on the editing floor, but let me also give you effusive thanks to our outside counsel, especially my personal attorney, Matt Solomon, for being a true believer in me and our case from the beginning. Here's the video.
As many of you know, just over 4 years ago, the United States SEC filed its lawsuit against Ripple. I'm finally able to announce that this case has ended. It's over. Sitting here today and reflecting on 4 years ago, it seems very clear to me that this case was doomed from the start. In so many ways, it was the first major shot fired in the war on crypto. I truly felt like I knew then that Ripple was not only on the right side of the law, but I felt that we were also going to be proven to be on the right side of history.
It really, I think, sends an ominous sign for innovation around cryptocurrency in the United States. Picking winners in general has not been something the U.S. government should be in the business of doing.
I think the judge realizes this is not just about Ripple. This will have broader implications.
As Mary Jo White, the former head of the SEC, has said publicly that she views this as a dead wrong, and the SEC is dead wrong on this decision.
Ripple is the first company with the resources, determination, and grit to fight back against the agency's overreach. And today, this journey finally concludes. Today is a victory and a long overdue surrender by the SEC. The SEC, under Chairman Gary Gensler, went after the whole industry, using the same arguments they used against us. They weren't out to protect investors. They were out to intimidate and terrorize. The regulator, whose primary purpose is to protect investors, went all in on a non-fraud, victimless lawsuit and wiped out $15 billion of value from innocent XRP holders. The SEC was the market manipulator. The SEC wasn't seeking justice. They were seeking to win a case at any cost. Forces inside our government aligned with the SEC and embarked on a campaign of debanking anyone associated with the crypto industry. This was lawfare, a war of legal terror. Fortunately, the judge rebuked the SEC multiple times in this journey. First, for lacking a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law. The SEC was sanctioned in our case for discovery abuses, and the pattern was repeated in other crypto cases.
Well, let's just say they're trying to confuse you.
We won then on every critical legal point. proving that the digital asset XRP is not a security. That is now the law, and those wins have laid the groundwork for policymakers to adopt a set of rules for crypto that are in line with nearly a century of securities law. With today's news, the war on crypto has ended in defeat for those who turned our own government against a technology and an entire industry. I'm heartened that we have paved the way for other industry players to see the value in not backing down, and for others to use our legal playbook to fight back. We are now closing a chapter in crypto history. I think we are all stronger for our prior litigation successes and today's landmark victory. Progress is worth fighting for. We won multiple pro-crypto victories at the ballot box last year. It's time to make the US the crypto capital of the world. Thankfully, we have new leadership in executive and legislative branches of our government. That leadership is actively seeking a rational and constructive way forward on crypto. Let's make the most of this. This is an incredibly promising moment. Let's come together. Let's leave the tribalism behind. But let me make it clearer that my main message, what Ripple's main message today, is about gratitude. It's gratitude to everyone who stood by us, to every Ripple employee, to the incredible legal team here at Ripple, led by the best chief legal officer in the business, Stu Alderodi. Gratitude certainly to the XRP family, to our customers, to our partners. Thank you. We couldn't have won this battle without all of you being behind us and working together. I truly believe we all agree there's immense opportunity with the largest economy in the world finally taking a pro-crypto and pro-innovation approach to build this technology in order to solve real-world problems for people around the planet. This was a fight Ripple never wanted, but one we knew we had to win. And today, emphatically, we have. Thank you.
Wow, that gives me chills. I'm just so hyped. You know, I've been in this space 7 years, and for the past 4.5 years, we have fought our government, we fought the SEC, we fought tribalism, we fought Bitcoin maxis, and I guarantee you today, the Bitcoin maxis are shitting their pants. I guarantee I guarantee they are shitting their pants. Gary Gensler even shut down his X account. I gave him the middle finger. I said, hey, Gary Gensler, I gave him the middle finger today. It wasn't even his account, I don't think. Poor bastard. But anyway, oh man, it is just an incredible day. I'm full of emotions. I'm full of just this entire community. I'm going to get to shake Brad Garlinghouse's hand at XRP Las Vegas. I'm going to get to shake your hand at XRP Las Vegas. Hugs, whatever we need to do. I'm such a great people person. I'm still a God-fearing Southeast Texan that says yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. And I just love meeting people, and I can't wait to meet all of you guys and gals. So let's keep going with this. Stu Alderodi. He follows me, the general counsel, chief legal officer at Ripple. He follows me. I'm honored for that. He said, today, Ripple moves forward, stronger than ever. This landmark case set a precedent for the domestic crypto industry. With the SEC dropping its appeal, Ripple is now in the driver's seat and will evaluate how best to pursue our cross appeal. Regardless, today is a day to celebrate this victory. Congratulations to everybody. I tell you what, this morning, my friend Raymond, let's see, Todd, let's see, Mike, let's see, all of my buddies texted me. Even Gary, my real friend Gary I used to work with, sent me a message saying, look, we did it. Here we go. Get ready. Buckle up. Put on your seatbelt. It's going to happen. It's happening. So Sentiment got this out there today. They state that XRP has decoupled from the altcoin pack, surging another 14% and breaching the $2.50 resistance for the first time in 12 days. Wallets with at least 1 million XRP now hold 46.4 billion coins, as they have accumulated 6.5% more in just the past 2 months alone. People are scooping up XRP. People know the technology. Why are you not backing up the truck at $2.50? Now, if you've been in this a while, I understand. I'm currently cash poor. I'm crypto rich. I'm cash poor. I have a little bit on the side, but, I have to pay bills. I have to do things. They won't accept cryptocurrency right now. Oh, man. So address activity, crypto wallet address activity has exploded in the month of March, seeing approximately 6 times more unique wallet interacting on the network in March compared to earlier month. So congratulations, XRP community, XRP Ledger, everybody out there that fought for a level playing field. We are here. Ellie Tarrant, who keeps getting all this wonderful news out there, states that the big announcement regarding Donald Trump's plan for the next step in crypto policy is coming imminently out of the Blockworks DAS. This is the Blockworks Digital Asset Summit. President Donald Trump is going to be at the summit tomorrow, and he's going to give us the next steps in crypto policy. People, get excited. I mean, I'm lost for words. I just got home. I cranked up the MacBook Pro. I had a beer on the way home. Oh my gosh, you had a beer? You drove with a beer? Yes, I did. You know, we're celebrating. Pop a top right now, and let's celebrate wherever you're at around the world. I want to thank Jenna X Crypto for getting this 7-minute clip, this Bloomberg interview with Brad Garlinghouse today. It says that Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says that they're in the driver's seat and how they want to proceed. The SEC case is over, XRP. I'm going to finish it with this. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, a wonderful week. Let's get excited. My name is James Rural, XRP, and don't forget, I told you so.
And of course, this has been a long battle. How much certainty does this provide? Is the entire case over?
So this provides a lot of certainty for Ripple, for frankly me personally, because the SEC had sued me. The SEC has abandoned their appeal, and so they filed suit in December of 2020. We won on the key parts of the case in the summer of 23. Judge Torres made a ruling that XRP in and of itself was not a security. That's almost a verbatim quote. The SEC filed an appeal about 8 months ago, and what they've now agreed is that they're going to drop that appeal. We still have a cross appeal pending, and so we go from being defendant really to plaintiff. So we now are in the driver's seat to determine how we want to proceed.
Are you dropping it?
We're going to see. It feels a lot better to be on the offense than the defense. You know, 4 years, we spent over $150 million defending that case, not just for Ripple, but for the whole industry. I think it was really important that this SEC, the Gensler SEC, was really trying to bully and continue lawfare, filing lawsuits against crypto companies. That's over now, and I think that's great for the U.S. crypto industry and, frankly, great for crypto at large.
I mean, to that end, if you're looking at a new SEC, why not drop the case at this point? Why not clear the why not clear the water?
Well, that certainly is an option. I mean, again, it's clear the SEC has said, you know, I think in retrospect, never would have brought this case. The judge did rule in certain instances back in 2015 and 2016, some XRP sales that we sold to accredited investors, to institutions, that those had constituted a security. And so there was a $125 million fine that's sitting in escrow. We wouldn't mind having that back. That's on the table. And I think there's some nuances to how this will play out. But it was important for us, for really the whole XRP community, for them to know that the case is over. For all intents and purposes, the case is over. The SEC is no longer pursuing this.
But to that end, to your point here, the court decision had ordered you to pay a $125 million civil penalty for exactly what you're talking about. Is that $125 million paid? Is what you're saying that's still up for dispute?
Yeah. Well, it's not in dispute. I mean, that's sitting in an escrow, and depending upon whether or not we decide to continue with our appeal, we could walk away and the whole thing be done. On the other hand, when you have a case where there were no investor harm, no investors lost any money, you're kind of like, wait, why are we here? And it really goes back to Gary Gensler fighting a fight that was about power grab, that was about overreach of the bureaucracy to try to take a new industry. That what we're seeing now happen in Washington is smart legislation will come forward. You're seeing that happen with stable coins in real time. And I think you'll have a market structure bill, is what it's described as, to provide clarity and rules for the SEC and CFTC.
We will look at the bigger picture. Right. We're going to have you for a little while this morning. But do you think that part of this means fighting it till the very end to make sure even that part of uncertainty around being sold to certain investors classifies as a security? Is that what you are fighting for ultimately at this point?
Well, I mean, at this point, all we're fighting for is, do we want to fight to get the $125 million back? And look, I'll be honest, would I have walked away from that before they appealed, before President Trump put Paul Atkins and Scott Bessent and David Sachs as critical, key, very smart leaders in this industry to bring this industry back on shore, I would have walked away. Now you look at that, you're like, this case in this SEC never would have been brought. And so where we find ourselves is great. There's a clear legal victory to say XRP is not a security. That was good for the industry. But there's pieces of it that we think could be kind of cleaned up. And the question is, do we want to fight that fight, or can we come to an agreement with the SEC to drop everything?
The whole idea that this wouldn't have been brought under this SEC, have you had that specific discussion with Paul Atkins and with David Sachs?
Well, Paul Atkins hasn't yet been confirmed. He's a very knowledgeable guy about this industry and has been for a long time. But I've had conversations. I won't comment on specifics with certainly, I think David Sachs would agree that this is a case that didn't make a lot of sense in the beginning. Again, there was no investor harm. This was about Gary Gensler waging a war against this industry.
It's interesting. I want to also point out that the affiliated token, of course, XRP, has been up roughly 14%, now about 13% in the last 24 hours. One thing a lot of people had looked at, we're thinking a lot about how the administration is handling crypto assets, particularly outside of Bitcoin. Why do you think XRP wasn't specifically named in the executive order for the digital asset stockpile?
Well, so XRP was named by the president on Truth Social. He posted something saying that there should be other tokens, that there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve and then a crypto stockpile that would include things like XRP.
But days later, the executive order didn't include it. Why was that?
I don't know what specifically was in the executive order. My understanding is there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. There'll be a crypto stockpile representing other cryptos. And I would expect that will include XRP. Look, at the end of the day, I think the stark contrast is in the Biden administration, we couldn't get a meeting with people at the White House. Now we're welcomed into the White House. And that's just a massive change. I think we want this industry to thrive in the United States. We don't want to push it offshore where you have fewer regulations.
I think the reason I keep pushing you too is because I think now it's widely accepted that this is a pro-crypto administration. But the details, that is what's causing an overhang, the uncertainty of the details. So to the extent you have confidence, right, about XRP being in that stockpile or otherwise getting more support for an ETF, for example, where does that confidence come from, and what kind of timeline do you see it happening on?
So I have immense confidence on the ETF. I think there's 11 different filings pending with the SEC to launch ETFs, from everybody from Bitwise to Franklin Templeton and a whole bunch of people in between. I think those will be live in the second half of this year. We have seen, even outside the United States, you have live ETPs. And at a time when a lot of outflows are exiting some of the crypto ETFs, you're seeing inflows into XRP. And I think that's because you had this false negative pressure from the SEC, this kind of, an exogenous hand holding things down that's now being released. And that's great for the market. That's great for builders within the XRP ecosystem globally.
One more on the stockpile.
Yeah.
How much XRP would be in it? Where does it come from?
Well, my understanding of what I read about I think there are some questions, and that the devil may be in the details as Treasury implements some of this.
Absolutely in the details.
But my understanding is that the stockpile will be represented by seized other cryptos other than Bitcoin that then will be in that stockpile. So to the extent that various law enforcement agencies have seized cryptos, which would include XRP, that those would go into the stockpile in addition to the Bitcoin strategic reserve. That's my understanding.